Good morning, good people, brothers, sisters, and beautifully defiant siblings in the movement. Welcome to the unapologetic voice of labor, equity, and action. This is CWA Our Power Radio Show, where we amplify the organizers, uplift the everyday workers, and honor the giants whose shoulders we stand on right here on KYOK 1140 AM and 106.5 FM in the heart of Houston, Texas. If you're rolling through H-Town or just fired up anywhere in the world, stream us live at kyokradio.org or the CWA Strong app, or catch the replay anytime by searching CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast platform. Because this space, this time, it's about us. That's right. It's about us. We're talking union contracts, organizing victories, labor rights, human dignity, fair pay, and bold everyday resistance to injustice in every form. So whether you're on the job, in your car, at your kitchen table, or deep in the fight, lean in, honk your horns if you stand with workers, throw a fist up if you know your worth. Joining me today are the fire starters and truth tellers, Mikeya Jones, Timmia, Wiley, Tay Akins, and David Marshall. So bucket up, beloveds, because the power we build together, that power is ours. Our union voices are ringing in every district from Alaska to Maine, Texas to Minnesota, Canada to Puerto Rico, because we don't play at CWA. This February, as we honor Black History Month, we're doing something intentional here at CWA Our Power. We're not only looking back, we're looking around us, because Black history isn't just something we commemorate, it's something that's still being lived, still being shaped, still being fought for. This year, we're highlighting unlikely activists, Black Americans who didn't set out to lead movements, but whose work has reshaped how we think about labor, dignity, and human rights. These are educators, policy thinkers, transit riders, housing advocates, and grassroots organizers. People who understand that justice doesn't only live in speeches or courtrooms, it lives in workplaces, in neighborhoods, and in everyday survival. At CWA, we know that labor rights are civil rights. We know that access of fair wages, safe workplaces, transportation, housing, and accountability isn't abstract. It determines whether families thrive or struggle. So throughout this month, we're lifting up living Black Americans whose work reminds us that organizing doesn't always wear a union jacket, but it always carries the same spirit, solidarity, courage, and collective power. This is Black history in motion. Our next spotlight focuses on Matthew Desmond, an unlikely activist whose battlefield is research, data, and storytelling. Matthew is a sociologist, not a protest leader, but his work on eviction and poverty forced the nation to confront a devastating truth: housing instability is a labor crisis. Through the years of research, Desmond showed how Black workers, especially Black women, are disproportionately evicted even while working full-time jobs. Eviction leads to job loss, health crisis, and generational poverty. This isn't individual failure, it's structural violence. What makes Desmond an unlikely activist is that he doesn't shout, he documents. And those facts have fueled policy change, legal reform, and public awareness. His work exposes how employers, landlords, and systems profit from instability. For CWA, his message hits home. A worker without stable housing cannot fully exercise their rights. Housing security is job security. Matthew Desmond reminds us that justice doesn't only happen on picket lines, it happens when truth is made undeniable. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected, share your thoughts, and join in the conversation. Up next, we have Tea with Tay. Tay Akins, good morning.
Good morning, Errol. Good morning, KYOK family, and good morning to my union family as well. So today, it's time for Tea with Tay, and today's tea is flying high. We're talking about bald eagle. Yes, that bald eagle, the majestic bird, the symbol of America, the one we see on the Great Seal, government buildings, and every patriotic commercial during the Super Bowl. The bald eagle is the nation's bird, the national bird of the United States. It represents freedom, strength, independence, and power. But here's the T. The bald eagle was once on the brink of being extinct. In the mid 1900s, because of the habitation destruction, hunting, parasites like DDT, the eagle population dropped to just a few hundred nesting pairs in the lower 48 states. A few hundred. America's symbol of strength was barely surviving. So, what did this country do? We passed protections, strong ones. The eagle was protected under the Bird and Gold Eagle Protection Act. Then came the Endangered Species Act. And guess what? It worked. The population rebounded. The bald eagle was removed from the endangered species list in 2007. Let me say that again. When America decided something mattered, when America said this symbol must be saved, we put laws into place, we enforced them, and we funded them. And the eagle soared again. Now, here's where the tea gets hot. If we can mobilize like that to protect a bird, why is it so hard to mobilize to protect people? Why is it easier to protect the symbol of freedom than to protect freedom itself? We protect the eagle's nest, but we don't protect working families' homes. We protect the eagle from poison, but do we protect communities from polluted water and toxic air? We made it illegal to harm the eagle, but workers still fight every day for safe working conditions. We celebrate the eagle as a symbol of liberty, but voting rights are debated, reproductive rights are debated, LGBTQIA plus rights are debated, labor rights are debated. So I have to ask, is freedom sacred in America, or is the symbol of freedom sacred? Because when corporations pollute rivers, who suffers? When climate disasters hit, who rebuilds? When jobs disappear, who struggles? That's working people. And let's bring it home to labor. Unions fight for safe working places, for health care, for wages that allow families to live with dignity. That's protection. That's building a nest. And sometimes the same folks who wrap themselves in the flag and talk about patriotism are the first ones to say, don't bring politics into the union. But protecting workers is political. Protecting clean air is political. Protecting civil rights is political. The bald eagle didn't recover because we hoped really hard. It recovered because policies changed, because laws were enforced, because someone said, this matters too much to lose. So here's my question for America. If we can come together to save a bird, we can come together. Can we come together to save each other? Can we protect the people with the same urgency we protect the emblem? Because real patriotism isn't just saluting the eagle. Real patriotism is making sure every person in the country can soar, not just the symbol, the people. So that's our tea for today, y'all. I'm Tay, and I want you to think. Are we protecting what matters? Are we just admiring it from a distance? Let's talk about it. Back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, Tay, with the T with Tay. You're listening to KYOK 1140 AM in the all-new 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the Listen Live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour of Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected. Share your thoughts and join in the conversation. Up next, we have the Marshall Minute with David Marshall. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Errol, and good morning, family, and welcome to the Marshall Minute. Today, we're going to talk about internet phenomenon. It's called the shopping cart theory. So to start, let's do a little experiment. Now, I'm going to ask you to be completely honest, and I promise, with no judgment, not a soul will know your answer. Are you ready? Okay, think of this scenario in your head. Let's say it's grocery day. Your checklist is all crossed out, your bags are all settled, and your shopping cart is emptied, and you're ready to go home. Have you ever caught yourself thinking twice if you'll return the shopping cart to its designated spot? Now, I want you to recall this. What did your instinct tell you? And then, what was your response? Well, whatever you did, it's just between you and me. I asked this first for you to have a full grasp of what the shopping cart theory is all about. All of this blew up online last year sometime when somebody posted an anonymous post theory that stated it's the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. Now, based on that theory, to return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we can all recognize as the correct and appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. But simultaneously, it's not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart itself presents an apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. We may never know who created this, or, I may guess that, maybe it's a grocery store propaganda, people have made up who's fed up with arranging carts for customers. But whatever it is, it partly holds water. And given in a scenario, and there's no dire emergency, we solely rely on a person's decision to choose what is right. Right to return the cart and wrong to leave it somewhere else. Self-governance only does little in explaining the behavior of a person. So let's talk about what self-governance means. Usually it compromises some or all of the following: a code of conduct that outlines acceptable behavior within a unit or group, a means of ensuring external authority does not have to become involved until certain criteria are satisfied, and a means of facilitating the intended functions of the unit or group. It could prove that you're a self-governing person, but it doesn't mean you're a good or bad person. I believe it's the reason why it sparked interest in so many. The act so ill-considered, but if you think about it, explains how we operate. So if you apply positive psychology, most likely you will return the cart. Positive experiences like happiness, joy, inspiration, and love. In this case, you'll return the cart because you find joy in doing what's right. Positive states and traits like gratitude, resilience, and compassion, you'll return the cart because you're grateful you're done with your groceries. Positive institutions, applying positive principles within an entire organization and institutions. You'll return the cart because it's what was asked of you by the store. But on the other hand, most behavior models state that there are three elements that must converge at the same moment for a behavior to occur. That's motivation, ability, and prompt. If time is already given under prompt, at least the ability and motivation should exist. Ability, are you physically able to return the cart? Motivation, do you still have the energy to return the cart? I know I'm getting complicated here, okay? And I apologize. But it's probably the reason why this created a lot of buzz online. In the grand scheme of things, you can't use the shopping cart theory as a basis if a person is good or bad. Morality is a comparative complex. And if you're trying to base it on this theory, you're going to be wrong. As I checked many of the responses online, I believe there was disconnect. This is where the disconnect was coming from. The theory could be a test for one's morals, but not a measurement of it. It just means that our individual differences could get in the way of doing what is right. I also wondered if this theory could cause a ripple effect so that one day we don't see any scattered shopping carts in the parking lot. One thing for certain, simple things can be a test of our character. When we do what is right, even when nobody's looking, good things can happen. Our character is being strengthened. It builds a sense of integrity by standing for what's right and not operating mainly within the context of reward and punishment. So the next time you're finished with your grocery shopping, ask yourself to return or not to return the shopping cart. That is the question. Until next time, this has been the Marshall Minute, where living well is the greatest act of love. Back to you, Errol.
Thank you so much, David. I got a story to tell about a shopping cart, something that happened about 45 years ago. We'll have to talk about that offline.
Oh, yeah. Well, when that shopping cart hits the side of my car, it's a whole nother theory that's going to be applied.
Yes. And what if you put a little strength behind it?
Right.
It dents somebody else's car.
Right.
So yeah, I try my best to make sure I return the shopping cart because I do not like shopping carts near my cars. Okay, so thank you so much, David, for that. What'd you say, Tay?
I said, don't roll it over my way. Don't roll it over my way.
All right, you're listening to KYOK 1140 AM and all do 106.5 FM. If you're on the go, you can take us with you by visiting kyokradio.org and pressing the listen live option. Tune in live every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on kyokradio.org, the CWA Strong app, or your preferred podcast player. Search for CWA Hour Power on your favorite podcast player. Like and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at CWA National Human Rights to stay connected. Share your thoughts and join the conversation. Up next, sitting in for that old Reginald Small, since he thinks he's the star, it's going to be David Marshall coming back with us. We'll be spotlighting a human rights spotlight today. And so, David, we're going to throw it back over to you.
You can't be for the freedom of one group of people, then for the oppression of another. Family, those words are not just a quote. They are a mandate. That was the life message of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Not sometimes freedom, not selective justice, not convenient equality, all of it for all of us. And today we're going to spotlight a man that didn't just preach civil rights, he practiced human rights. Reverend Jackson stood in the lineage of Dr. King, but he built his own lane through the Rainbow Push Coalition. He challenged voter suppression, corporate discrimination, and political exclusion. He understood something that many people still struggle with today. Civil rights are not static. They are not permanent. They must be defended, expanded, and enforced. From ballot access fights to economic justice campaigns, he refused to let the movement shrink because freedom for some is not freedom for all. He was LGBTQIA rights when it wasn't popular. Let's be clear, there were seasons in this country when supporting LGBTQIA rights cost you politically. It cost you allies, it cost you donations. Reverend Jackson stood anyway. He publicly condemned discrimination against LGBTQIA people, framed gay rights as civil rights, and insisted that the movement must be inclusive even when others hesitated. That's leadership, folks. That's not waiting for the crowd, that's shaping it. Because you can't fight discrimination with discrimination. As far as women's rights, showing up, not just speaking up, Reverend Jackson stood shoulder to shoulder with women fighting for equal pay, reproductive rights, and leadership representation. He elevated women's leadership within his own organization and national campaigns. He understood that racism and patriarchy often operate together and must both be dismantled. Freedom cannot have a gender limit. Labor rights. Economic justice is human rights. This is where it hit home for us at CWA. Reverend Jackson consistently connected civil rights to economic rights. He challenged corporations that profited off Black labor but excluded Black leadership. He organizes boycotts. He demanded supplier diversity. He stood with striking workers. He understood something critical. You can desecrate a lunch counter and still be economically locked out. You know, he supported union workers across industries because he knew collective bargaining is a civil rights tool. And standing with CWA, let's be specific. Reverend Jackson showed up with the communication workers of America in our struggles for worker dignity, corporate accountability, and economic fairness. When CWA members fought against corporate greed, layoffs, and attacks, and on bargaining rights, he didn't stay silent. He lent his voice, he lent his platform, and he lent his presence because he understood that telecommunication workers, public sector workers, and frontline employees are not separate from civil rights movement. We are all the movement. And when workers rise, democracy rise. The Rainbow Push Coalition. Reverend Jackson didn't believe in siloed struggles. He believed in what he called a rainbow coalition. Black, white, Latino, Asian, Indigenous, LGBTQIA, labor, women, faith communities, young people, not competing for scraps, but building power together. That vision directly challenges the narrative we still hear today. Stay in your lane. Don't bring up that issue in this fight. Stick to one cause. But Reverend Jackson's life said the opposite. Oppression is coordinated. Justice must be coordinated too. So family, this quote is not just about Reverend Jackson Sr., it's about all of us. If we claim to be pro-worker but ignore attacks on LGBTQIA workers, we're inconsistent. If we claim to defend democracy but ignore voter suppression, then we're incomplete. If we fight racism but dismiss sexism, then we're contradicting ourselves. Reverend Jackson Sr. taught us that freedom is indivisible. And in this moment, when rights are being rolled back, reinterpreted, and challenged, his message is urgent. You cannot be for the freedom of one group of people and support the oppression of another. That's not justice, that's convenience. And CWA was never built on convenience. We were built on solidarity. So let's honor his legacy, not with nostalgia, but with action, because the work continues.
Thank you so much, David Marshall. I remember when Jesse Jackson came to Birmingham, Alabama to stand with CWA and to stand with workers during the Bell South administration days. So we owe a debt of gratitude to him and thank him for his service and standing with us right here, even in Birmingham, Alabama. We're going to check in with our producer to see if we want to stay right here or do we want to jump on into the SAVE Act, because all of these are kind of tied
jump on
together.
into the SAVE Act, because as a woman, I'm just shocked. No, I'm serious. I'm just shocked and appalled. And we're going to go into that and talk about what it was. But what's crazy to me is my dad passed away and I'm like my dad's daughter 100%. And so one thing that I said was, like, after my father passed away was, if I ever get married, I would not change my name, right? Because I was just like so stuck on being my dad's daughter and kind of honoring him that way by keeping his last name. Child, they don't want us, like, if you did get married and you change your name and the name that's on your ID don't match the name that's on your birth certificate, you may not be able to vote. I don't know if people are gonna have to be asking for the birth certificate. We definitely need to unpack this because this is crazy.
Okay, yes,
okay,
yes.
hold on. And then on the top of, you know what, some people
well, hold on, guys. Let's
Sorry.
unpack it. Let's set the stage, because there may be some uninformed voters out there that have not heard about what the SAVE Act is. So,
well, it's not saving anybody to start.
All right. So can we just unpack that first? Let's talk about what the SAVE Act is. Mikeya, will you pick that up?
Certainly. So I'm sorry, but that stressed me out. Okay, so
I know, I know.
the the SAVE Act, formerly the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, and there goes that marketing that I'm telling y'all about, where oh, save, that sounds great, but anyway, it would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in federal elections, and supporters say it's about election integrity. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
first truth bomb, right? Non-citizens voting in federal elections is already illegal. Like, that's already a thing. Like, they already can't vote. That's not something that we needed to save because it didn't go anywhere. And so the real question becomes, what problem are they actually trying to solve?
Right. And let's just go ahead and be clear with this. Voter fraud is rare, not low, not minimal, rare. Okay. So and study after study, investigation after investigation under both parties has found no evidence of widespread non-citizen voting. So what does exist is a long history of laws that really make it harder for certain people to vote while claiming to protect democracy. And guys, this is not new at all. It is just a pattern.
They say, what's the problem? Just bring your birth certificate or passport. But let's talk about real life. Millions of Americans don't have passports. Birth certificates cost money to replace. Married women often have name mismatches. Seniors born at home may not even have a formal documentation of, and naturalized citizens face extra scrutiny. This is not hypothetical. These are going to be lived experiences. When voting
Mm-hmm.
requires money, time, and paperwork, voting becomes a privilege not afforded to everybody.
Mm.
And as an unwilling adult, some of us, our parents still had our birth certificates underneath the mattress. I'm just, I'm just, I'm just saying, like, everybody doesn't always know exactly where, and then I just feel like okay, I was always told that you're supposed to keep like your birth certificates and social security cards safe, right? And so like walking around and standing in line for hours with all of that documentation, I feel like it's kind of scary. I just feel like that's
Mm-hmm.
also like I don't know if anybody ever thought about the safety concerns, but like literally if something happens, that's your whole identity just available to anybody.
But also,
And Tay, let me ask you something, Tay, and because I think this is a very poignant question. Who gets hit the hardest?
um, low income workers, Black and brown communities, rural voters, seniors, people with disability, women who change their names. I was going to also tell you that that if you live in another state and you need your birth certificate, it takes a long time for that birth certificate to be sent to you, a really long time.
Hmm.
So it affects anyone who's moved. It affects anyone who's made life changes. It's a really big hit on everyone. This isn't about protecting democracy. It's about controlling who gets to participate in it.
And
And
And it
you're
personally
absolutely
affects
right.
me.
You're absolutely right, and I'm not trying to put nobody on the spot. And Tay, you said something very that is very truthful. Is that it takes some time to get your birth certificate from another state if you don't live in that state. And Timmia, let's talk about where you had to get your birth certificate from.
Oh, I had to jump through hoops to get mine out of Louisiana. Honey,
And how long did it take you?
it took me
Oh,
a
for
while.
oh
It
my
took me a
God.
while because mine is a little bit different. My first name doesn't match the spelling on my social security card. And then I got married, so my driver's license doesn't match my birth certificate. Um, nothing matched. And because of all of the fraud and everything that happened after Hurricane Katrina, they were more I think that in Louisiana, they were in New Orleans Parish, they were more, what do I say? More cautious about sending a birth certificate to somebody whose stuff does not match.
But the
That was
question
kind of like,
is that would have affected you voting if this would have passed,
Oh
correct?
yeah. Yeah.
oh
Oh, it
yeah,
absolutely will.
And that's what they're doing. So it affects so many people. People don't even know they have these challenges until they come up.
Mm-hmm.
y'all. David done
Especially
got
women.
quiet on here. David, are you
Well,
still there?
well, we've seen this movie. We've seen this movie before. You know, poll taxes were about election integrity. Literacy tests were about qualified voters. Voter ID laws are about security. And every single time, the result was the same: fewer marginalized people voting. You know, this fight lives in the shadow of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the damage done when protections were rolled back after the Shelby versus Holder. And so that's what it's about.
And let's reset the record. Come, you ready for it, Mikeya? Go ahead.
No, because this stressed me out. I'm not gonna. This pissed me off. So I am so upset about. No, I'm serious. I'm so
I
upset
know.
about it. And okay, and so, like I said before, only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections, and already that's law. And if I'm being honest, right? If we're being really honest, I don't know how many people, because voting is not, it's not fun, right? So it's like, who is really like, oh, let me go lie and go, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, let me go stand in this line for hours to lie. So it's like, come on, let's be for real. So again, only U.S. citizens can vote in federal elections. That's already a law. We don't need another one.
Right. And voting illegally carries some serious penalties. And there really is no crisis of non-citizen voting.
But there is a crisis of voter suppression.
And the SAVE Act pours gasoline on that very fire.
And if you are ever turned away at the polls, let's go ahead and get this straight. Your legal response is this right here, because we know we're going to have some issues coming up. Please give me a provisional ballot with a receipt as required by law. And that's all you need to say. Say it, remember it, and share it.
Right. So talk to your people.
Educate your community.
Gotta challenge those lies.
Yeah.
Protect the access.
Because history is watching.
This is Our Power Radio. Democracy only works when all of us can participate. So stay informed, stay loud, and most importantly, stay voting. Please stay voting. As we come down to the final minutes of the show, an hour is not long enough to be with you, and a week is too long to be away from you. You have been tuned into the CWA Human Rights Our Power broadcast. I hope something you heard today has inspired you to take action toward creating positive change in the world. Every person has the power to make a difference, no matter how small. And by working together, we can create a world where human rights are respected and valued. So I encourage each of you in the listening audience to reflect on your role in promoting human rights to affect change in your communities and beyond. Know that you are not alone in your quest for a more just and equitable world. When faced with injustice, it can be easy to lose hope and give up. But remember, justice may be slow like the truth, but when it finally comes, it will stand. Until next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, right here on KYOK 1140 a.m. and the all-new 106.5 FM, KYOKradio.org. See you next week.